to Atypical Talk. This is a podcast where we have conversations that illuminate the intersection of faith, culture, and the common spaces of our humanity. I'm Abby.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Brooke.
We have Brooke back with us. She, if you haven't listened to the episode that she was on before, or episodes, this is your third one, right?
I think so.
Yeah. She is our children's pastor here at Bridgeway, and so we're excited to have her back and have her input on what's going on here. So our first question is, what athlete, dead or alive, would you like to meet? I'm having Joel start because I know he's more of a sports fan than we are. So,
yeah, which might not be saying much with the two people I'm sitting with. No, I love sports, but only really specific ones in a lot of ways. I mean, I follow the NBA, I follow the Pacers, and I follow the NFL, the Colts, even when things are rough and ugly like they are right now. So I'm not a huge sports person. I enjoy watching baseball in the playoffs or going to a baseball game, but before we get to the playoffs, it's kind of boring to me. But I am going to start. My person is a baseball player, actually, which is odd enough. But I think it'd be so fascinating to sit down and talk to Babe Ruth, who's been gone for a really long time. But I just find him, the more I hear about Babe Ruth, just to be fascinating. Like the reality of he played baseball during a time when he hit so many home runs. He was a power hitter, but he was completely out of shape. Not a specimen of any type of stature at all, and he drank a lot and smokes cigars and probably worse, but he was a professional athlete who was at the top of his game. I think it'd be fascinating to be like, what are you? Who are you? It's so weird because it just feels like it's so different than athletes today who spend millions of dollars on things to keep their body at tip-top shape, and he just didn't care. He's like, let me get out there and hit a ball. And it's just a whole different era of athlete, and I imagine that it would be a really interesting dinner, or would turn into a really long late night, probably, is what it would be, sitting down with Babe Ruth. But yeah, that'd be my answer.
Sweet.
I think for me, probably just Reggie Miller.
Oh, what a Hoosier. I love it. He was on my short list too.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
I used to go to a lot of Pacer games as a kid with my dad, and so I got to see Reggie play several times, which is cool to be able to say now. But then also, now that I'm sitting here thinking, I wouldn't mind meeting Travis Kelce. Maybe he could give me that Taylor Swift connection.
Oh, you need the T Swift connection. Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad.
I love that. For me, it would be Alona Meyer. I don't know how
That's not a real person,
last name.
Abby.
Yeah, none of them know who she is. She is a rugby player for the women's Olympics team, and she is just incredible. She's been someone who has, in the last year or two, been an icon for younger girls, showing that it's okay to have a different body type. I mean, she's a rugby player. She's big, she's buff, she's incredible, and right now she's on Dancing with the Stars and showing how she can dance with a body like that. She's really cool.
Is she more ripped than the guy that she's dancing with?
Yeah. She's bigger than he is. So there's a couple times where she's lifting him.
Oh, there's one of them, right?
So,
that is cool. I did not know that, but that is really cool that she's using her platform to to let everybody know that it doesn't have to look one single way for it to be strong, beautiful, all those things. That's cool.
No, I think that would be awesome. So speaking of athletes, specifically the Kelce brothers, we have this article from Entertainment News called Travis Kelce Defends Brother Jason Kelce Over Phone Smashing Incident with Heckler. November 2nd, outside of Beaver Stadium at Penn State University, a man approached Jason with his phone up and asked Jason Kelce, "How does it feel that your brother is a F-slur for dating Taylor Swift?" Jason responded by turning around, grabbing the man's phone, and saying, "Who's the F-slur now?" before smashing the man's phone. On their podcast, New Heights, Jason and Travis Kelce talked about the incident. Jason said, "I'm not happy about the situation. Me reacting gave him the time of day, and it also gave the situation notoriety. That's what I regret. It didn't deserve attention. It's really stupid," Jason admitted. The man got under his skin. "What I do regret," he noted, "is now there's a video that's very hateful that is now online that's been seen by millions of people, and I share fault in perpetuating it and having that out there." Travis replied by saying, "That's a situation you just gotta kind of learn from and own," he said, "and I think you owning it and speaking it shows how sincere you are to a lot of people in this world." So what do you guys think about Jason's, initial reaction, how he's responding to other people's reaction of it. What do you guys think of all of this?
For me, a couple different things came to mind. I like the Kelce brothers, but I was a little disappointed to see how he reacted. Just seeing it from like a regular person standpoint, we have to remember that they are just regular people.
Yeah.
And so I can see how in the moment that probably was his first reaction, to just be upset and come at it with anger and maybe even being a little inappropriate. But also I'm thinking of it from the perspective of they are people with kind of high status, especially right now. And they have a lot of kids, young boys who are looking up to them, and not the best example to be set. Seeing, Jason react in throwing the phone down and meeting this man with anger is kind of disappointing. I wish he would have met it with a little bit more kindness, or maybe even just not shown a reaction at all would have been more appropriate. But on the other hand, I'm really glad that he's owning up to the mistake and showing his fans, I did make a mistake. This shouldn't have happened, and I wish I would have done things differently. And he's not trying to put off what he did or blame someone else for his own actions. And so I think that's kind of a cool thing when you can own maybe your disappointments for other people. So.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, he's standing up for family, which is something that should be recognized, but there's a way to do that without anger. And so I think it's hard, especially as celebrities, when you have the paparazzi, you have fans yelling at you, you just constantly have people yelling at you. I feel like everyone's going to get to a point where they're going to snap and get angry. And
not be the best version of themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I love your guys' perspectives on it, because a couple things I've just been processing too. Like, I think it's really important to remember that these are people just like we're people. They get up and put their pants on just like us, one leg at a time kind of thing. And then to recognize something that's beautiful inside of this and like healthy, and then maybe a reaction that took things to a less healthy place. Because, standing up for family, standing up for anyone who's being picked on, like, that is an admirable thing. That is, whoever is being pushed down to, like, not just let that happen is a really admirable thing. But there's ways to do that where you actually come back with that same energy that they're coming out with you, and then you don't actually get anything done. It doesn't actually help anybody. And one of the things that I find to be so beautiful about Jesus and just draws me to the person of Jesus is the way that he was not passive in the way he dealt with things, but he never matched the negative energy with negative energy. I like to think of it like Jesus would always approach someone who was oppressing somebody, someone who was in the wrong, someone who was hypocritical, with like what I call the third way. Like, there's the way of just being passive, like, no, I'm just going to act like it doesn't happen. And there's a way of just meeting that moment with anger, with vitriol, with the same type of language. Yeah. And it seemed to be Jesus would confront, but confront in a way that would confound, or would confront in a way that would be like, what? And it would make the reality that the other person was living in look ridiculous, but it wouldn't like demean them at the same time. And I think it would just be a fascinating case study for us to consider, like, how do we confront in a way that doesn't dehumanize or meet with that same energy, but more so in the way of Jesus, to where, he's like, oh, slap me on the right cheek, and I'm going to offer you my left because you're going to look ridiculous, because there's no way you're going to use that hand to hit the left cheek. And, like all those different kind of things. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about when a soldier asks you to march a mile, ask him if you can march even more afterwards, because it's going to make him look like he's abusing power at the end of the day. It's all these different ways to like confront in a way to make them recognize the humanity in you, but not to dehumanize them at the same time. So yeah, Jason Kelce, like in this moment, he matched that negative energy with the slur that he used, that he's not proud of, that was demeaning to groups of people. But he was, standing up for his brother. So everybody has these times where we're not the best version of ourselves, and we wish we could take things back. To Brooks' point as well, I think it's really incredible, and we should always stop and recognize when people own their stuff. And we are living in a time when nobody wants to actually do a real apology. They want to apologize, kind of like the idea of, sounds like an apology, but you're making an excuse for why you did it, instead of just being like, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done this, I wish I could take this back, and then let's move on. And so, no, I don't want to cancel somebody like Jason Kelce because he said something terrible. He's owned it. He's probably paid some kind of price for it. And he's going to move forward and be better. So let's celebrate that. Like, there's nothing that is more, if you're a follower of Jesus, there's nothing more anti-Jesus than us like wanting to cancel and put people away instead of, calling them to own their stuff and, have whatever cost they need to pay so they can have the scales turned back. But then let's move forward. Let's move towards restoration. So I love that this is an example of what I find to be a really great apology from Travis or from Jason. And so he can move forward. So yeah, a lot to learn from this. But yeah, it's just another great reminder that they're normal people like us.
Yeah.
So let's learn from it. And it sounds like they've learned from it as well.
Yeah.
Do I get free Taylor Swift swag now that I said that? I didn't bash anybody, and no, that's not how that works. No. Not even a friendship bracelet. Okay.
I can probably get you a friendship bracelet.
Here we go. Now we're talking.
So our second topic today is a USA Today article titled "4 Arrested in California Car Insurance Scam. Clearly a human in a bear suit."
The greatest title for an article I've ever read, by the way. So good.
Officials arrested 4 people in California this week after state investigators said they committed insurance fraud by claiming an animal damaged their vehicles, when in reality it was someone wearing a bear costume. They provided video footage to the insurance company which showed the alleged bear in the vehicle. To prove it was not actually a bear in the video, the state agency had a biologist from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife review 3 bear videos. The biologist, investigators reported, determined it was clearly a human in a bear suit. Detectives then obtained a search warrant and, during a search of the suspect's home, found a costume bear suit.
I've got to say, before we dive more into this, that it's really fascinating that they got the California Department of Fish and Wildlife involved to try to prove this was a person in a bear suit. When they just saw the video footage and when he was texting back his friend on his cell phone, the bear guy, then that should have been the real tell bear. I don't know why they had to get the government involved past that. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's so silly. I couldn't believe it when I saw this. Like, people will go to great lengths to try to, get a little extra money. And
get ahead. Can you just imagine the late night of these guys sitting around, probably with some illegal substances in their body? There's like, how we need to pay for this thing? How we need to do this? Bear suit. Insurance fraud. Who's going to be it? Rock, paper, scissors for who gets in the bear suit.
Yeah. To be honest, I kind of thought the bear suit was good, though.
The pictures?
It looked pretty good. And then...
It's not like a Halloween costume you get at Halloween Town or something like that.
Yeah, it was relatively convincing. Yeah. But then... when you see the pictures also of the damage in the car, it's literally, you can tell it's just like the sharp blades. They're all like just straight, all perfectly aligned.
It's the most OCD bear that ever attacked. They got to make straight angles as we rip up this car for this insurance fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. So, I mean... A for effort. I don't know how to respond. But yeah, people will go through great lengths, and I just would love to have been a fly on the wall when they decided that this is how we're going to get money for this insurance. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Had to invest in a really nice bear suit too. So like they're out money
really
at this point.
Oh man, you're more behind than ever before. Yeah. Oh my goodness, what a time to be alive. Yeah. The human spirit, we can do anything. We can do anything. Or fail miserably, and now you're the bear suit guy forever. Oh man.
Yeah. So I will link these in the show notes, but I sent these guys some articles about unethical life pro tips. So what do you think is an unethical life pro tip you might actually have to try sometime?
I went deep onto this subreddit with all of these, and I just found some gold of parenting tips that are unethical that I'm wanting to use so badly. And I've had friends before I was a parent tell me, they're like, yeah man, like 60% of parenting is just lying to your kids, and like they'd be like, sometimes we'd be like driving around and our kids were screaming for chicken nuggets, and I'd be like, oh, I just called Ronald McDonald on the phone. He says they're out of nuggets today, buddy. Like, I'm like, oh, that's so terrible. Now that I have 3 kids, I'm like, how do I like move this ball forward? How do I get dinner?
You get it.
How do I get dinner into their system? How do I like literally get them to want to settle down and get ready for bed, open their mouth for me to brush their teeth? So I'm down for anything now. So I found some really interesting unethical parenting ones here, like for like for example, hide and seek. This is the most genius invention ever. It's much more exciting version of let's see who can be the quietest for the longest, and then I can take a nap until they actually find me, and try to get them to be quiet so make no more loud noises. I love that one. The idea of giving them a false choice where you're just like, okay, what are we going to do next? Are we going to clean our room, or are we going to pick up the dishes? Like giving them that kind of like where there's definitely many other choices inside of that. Yeah, and then maybe the most ridiculous one ever, but trying to give them a reward for doing something they don't like to do that they would think would be cool, but telling them that eating the crust part of a sandwich helps them learn how to whistle. I don't know what's going to happen after they do that and they still don't have that ability to whistle, but it sounds like it's a good trick.
It'll work one time.
It'll work one time, and maybe that's all that I need sometimes. I love that. So yeah, just ridiculous, like little fibs. Can we call them little unethical fibs to try to parent at home? Game changers.
Yeah. One I've been seeing a lot, and I don't think I would ever try it.
But you'd like to.
I would like to. People are saying that you can get into any like venue or, you know, an amusement park or stuff like that if you're dressed as a repair person. And you come in and you're just like, yep, I'm here to work on this thing that is apparently broken. The person at the gate doesn't know it's broken. If it's a big enough place, they're going to just let you walk right in. I think that would be awesome, but also if you get caught, you're in big trouble.
I think that Abby is probably going to invest in a jumpsuit and a fake mustache, and she's going to like, I'm here, the plumber. And she like goes, you know, that third sink in the women's restroom.
Yeah.
Who's going to check on that?
Yeah.
That's a good move. I like it.
Yep.
Maybe you should just get a bear costume.
Ah!
And then if you show up in the bear costume, if it's good enough, they won't question a bear either. They'll just let you right in.
Just letting a bear go through.
Yep.
I saw a parenting one as well that I kind of liked. My daughter likes to take long baths. It's always very hard to get her out of the bath. She likes to be a swimming mermaid. And there was someone who shared that they just slowly will refill the bath with colder water as the child's in the bath.
Maniacal.
And then as
Unhinged.
the water gets colder, the mom will ask, are you ready to get out yet? And eventually when the water's really freezing cold, the child on their own decides it's time to get out of the bathtub. So I felt like maybe I would use that one sometime.
Just like have them turn another way and drop some ice cubes with the other hand to the bottom. I just saw a couple more parenting ones that are just maniacal, unhinged, but amazing. Telling your kids that the schools are open on the weekends as well, and you'll let them skip school on the weekends if they behave. But maybe the most evil thing that's so unethical, but it sounds genius too, is, that ice cream truck, it plays music only when they're completely out of ice cream.
My mom trained us when we were younger. When the ice cream truck started playing music and coming by, we would all run inside. I don't remember what she told us that why we had to run inside.
You were terrified of it or something? Like, get inside, the ice cream man's coming.
But we would all run inside when we heard the music. I had forgotten about that until my sister reminded me the other day. I was like, why did we do that?
It's amazing the things that we can just believe, you know, because our parents tell us and we trust our parents. So we're really good about lying, I guess, is what it really is. But oh my gosh, that's amazing. So yeah. Life hacks, though. Going to change the game.
Yep.
You better believe I bookmarked this website.
You'll find new ones there every day.
And I'm putting away for their therapy in the future already, so it's part of it.
Yep. So our final article today is a WTHR article titled "Today Was the Day," says Libby German's sister, after Richard Allen is found guilty in Delphi murders trial. Libby German, 14, and Abby Williams, 13, went missing on February 13th, 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. After a massive search, their bodies were found near the Monon High Bridge the next day. Libby's phone was found under Abby's body. On November 11th, 2024, Richard Allen was found guilty on all 4 counts for the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. The jury deliberated for approximately 19 to 20 hours over several days. Allen was found guilty of felony murder of both girls and guilty of knowingly and intentionally killing both girls. It took the jury less than 2 minutes to enter the courtroom and read the verdict. Although there's a lot of evidence that Allen was near the scene of the crime that day, many are saying there wasn't enough evidence to prove he was the murderer, despite him admitting to it multiple times. The state painted Allen as a cold-blooded killer who hid in plain sight inside the community for years after the murders. The defense said Allen was a scapegoat who was charged on flimsy evidence and only confessed after solitary confinement caused him to have a psychotic episode. Libby's sister Kelce posted in relief on Instagram, writing, "Nearly 8 years. Today was the day." So have you guys been following this story? I have since it first came out in 2017.
Yeah, I have not.
I have been following
so you guys have followed this sort of all the way through.
Yeah. And I've been following it hoping that they would find someone, but, reading through this article, it feels like there's not enough evidence to say he was the one. And so it's hard.
It doesn't feel like like an open and shut case with him being the person.
Right.
But isn't that hard too? Because it felt like there were all dead ends and he was the only.
Right.
So that's what's challenging too, is like he was the only one that could have possibly done it that they found. And then you're like, oh no, like just because, he's wrong place, wrong time and reality. But anyway, so you're not like looking at the evidence, following the story. You don't think it's an open and shut case. You weren't completely compelled by the evidence
I guess
that was presented.
when I was reading through this article and other articles, when he was actually convicted, it kind of felt like there wasn't actual closure. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that the family, feels like there's closure too.
Yeah.
And so, it's a double-edged sword for me right now.
How did you feel like looking at the facts of the case and how it was? Where did you land?
It's hard because I don't want to be insensitive to the families, obviously. I know that they've been hoping for closure for nearly 8 years. I am kind of with Abby just in the sense of like, I do follow true crime, not just this case, but a lot of cases. And there have been so many cases that there's lack of physical evidence and somebody gets convicted. And then 30 years later, when there's more technology to help them solve a case, they take a look back at things and realize, even with a confession, they didn't get the right person.
Yeah.
And so for the families of the girls, obviously, I hope that they have the right person and they feel that they're getting some sort of justice in this. But also, I stand kind of on Abby's side of the story thinking like, is there enough physical evidence to, without
a shadow of a doubt,
reasonable doubt, believe that this man is the killer? And I don't know. I don't know. It's just such a hard line to toe. But I don't know. It just felt like there wasn't a lot of physical evidence to me. And when you think about, I don't even know the extent of what it's like to be in solitary confinement in
but the
prison.
emotional state that you're in.
Exactly. Yeah. There's I could see how you could maybe go a little crazy, or maybe there's almost a little bit of coercion into you can get out of this situation if you would just confess to what you did, and then there was information that the counselor or therapist that he had admitted his crime to, that she had been really obsessed with the case, and so she's obviously probably wanting to find closure for this family as well. And I just think there's a lot of sticky situations.
Do you think this was going to be a Netflix series in a couple of years?
Oh yeah,
It's that big.
Yeah.
So there's going to be
so.
people that will be like, oh, they got the wrong person, and there'll be sort of this discussion around it. That there's been in a lot of these big cases where they've had trouble. You think there's I just haven't followed it as closely, but you guys think there's enough of a following and enough of a story there? You feel like this is going to become more of a national thing too?
I feel like it. Yeah. But also at the same time, I don't know, it's this way for any big case like this. I just want it to be done so that the families have to quit hearing about this. They've been waiting so long. They feel like there's finally closure. But what would you guys say to these families who've been waiting so long and finally have this where they feel like it's done? They've, the murderers in jail. What would you say to these families?
That's really tough. I would probably try to do a lot of listening more than talking. But at the same time, not being in this situation, and honestly, pastorally and just with my vocation, I've not had to deal with anything like this, but I do have this this I don't know, this impression to be like, this is not like really the end of any journey. I would think like a lot of times you hear stories of families who have experienced something like this where they had lost a loved one through a heinous crime, and then there's even the death penalty, and they're waiting for that moment. And you hear stories where they actually want to go and see this person breathe their last breath in a way that they're going to feel justice and they're going to feel closure. And then many of them, you talk to them later and they're like, no, that didn't do the trick. And so there can be a false sense of justice and a false sense of closure, like this is the end of all the grieving. And I would just try to walk with people and remind them, if you don't feel immediately better, that's okay. Like this is not like you're taking a pill and everything's going to change, and it does not bring these young girls back. And so I think like part of that, I would just say like, you're probably going to be entering into a new phase of grieving, to where if you were expecting this to be like a pill that changes everything, and don't be disappointed when it doesn't, because this does not bring them back. And although hopefully you can have that sense of now no one else is in danger from the same person, and they can't do this to anybody else. In my experience, when you're looking for it to cure everything, it doesn't quite deliver what you might want it to, what it promises it will deliver. So I would listen, I would walk with them. I just don't put a ton of stock in the healing powers of justice as vengeance.
Right.
And like, I just don't put a lot of stock in like extinguishing this person is going to bring back what I lost or make me feel better. So, and again, it would probably change too if the people I was talking to were followers of Jesus or not, because they would probably have a little bit of a different take, or a very different take. But and that's okay too. But that's really tough, because I can totally, if I put myself in their shoes, I can think of all that I would want to have this foreclosure. But at the same time, I've just talked to enough people and watched enough true crime documentaries and hearing about this stuff to where often these things don't deliver the closure fully that we really want, because there's still a loss and there's still grief to be done, and to be experienced. So, we can celebrate if you feel that confidence that now no one else is in danger, and if someone will not be free to just live their life after they've taken so much that means so much to you. But I don't put too much stock in the healing powers of vengeance. I guess that's my line in that way. That's how I try to approach it, at least. Yeah. It's challenging though. And it makes it much more challenging as you guys talk about not feeling it's an open and shut case.
Right.
I mean? Yeah. So that's a challenge. And we'll see what happens next in the story. But, Brooke brings up a really good point of like the amount of times when there's these convictions that happen and then new technology is available, or they find another piece of evidence that might link it to somebody else. So we can only hope that as justice is served, it's actually justice, right?
Yeah. Right.
And not just because think about the pain of, re-ripping out stitches of what you think is going to begin healing if they discover somebody else.
Yeah.
And so this family has to go through this again, and then all the guilt of what they felt towards this guy who might not have, like it's crazy. So just so tragic, and you never get back what's actually lost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
I don't think I could really say it any better than what you said, honestly. On the other hand, I also think of Richard's family.
Yeah, that's
and
thank you for bringing that up. That's really good.
I just feel like just because, and even if he is the person who did this, that doesn't mean that his wife and his child, I know he has a daughter, maybe he has more than one child. His mom, his mother. And, he has family that, doesn't mean that his family is evil, and they did not do this thing. And so they're kind of navigating their own kind of grief over what he's done, or just believing that he's innocent, or that too. Exactly, yeah,
like
or
that's a whole different grief too.
That he's still innocent. And so it's just really hard on both sides of the coin there, because I just like you said, I think I would want to sit and do more listening probably than talking with them. Just and letting them know, you know, it's okay to go through this grieving process, and just because he's been convicted, again, like you said, doesn't mean it's over. And there's healing power in, you know, forgiveness and trying to move forward in the memory of the girls and what they would want for their families and their lives as well. And yeah.
I love that. Okay. Well, that's been this episode of Atypical Talk. If you have any topics or questions, you can email those to atypicaltalkpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Atypical Talk Pod to get updates when there's new episodes and see some behind the scenes looks. You can also subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to get updates when new episodes go live. We hope that these conversations today have helped you think wider, love deeper, and partner with God to bring the up there down here in your everyday life. Thanks for listening.